What's up, guys? Coach Vassar, thank you for joining me with OTF Audio Daily Beats. As always, if you're new, appreciate you tuning in. If you have any feedback, let me know. If you find value in these videos, information is in the description to support me. We're breaking down Monday, August 4th. This will also repeat on Wednesday, the 20th. We're going to see endurance on the treads, the rowers, power on the weight floor. As always, we'll talk about the 2G, talk about the 3G, and then wrap it up. So on the key concepts for the 2G, on the treads, you're going to see one 23-minute tread block with surges. 5 rounds of a 2.5-minute push followed by a 90-second base. But the final 15 seconds of each push is a quick bump up in speed or incline to surge the intensity. For the rower, if you make it through 3 rounds on the floor, you finish the block in a push row. And on the floor, you have 3 blocks of 2 exercises each. Go from strength move straight into a power move. You will need the benches up at the 3rd set in for incline, of course, dumbbells, but then we'll jump it into it. So on the tread side, 23 minutes. We're going to see a total of 5 rounds of a 2.5-minute push, 90-second base. And then the final bonus round, round number 6, is a 3-minute effort. I'll get to that when we get there. So they'll start off with 2.5-minute push, but the final 15 seconds is a surge, followed by a 90-second base. In full transparency, when breaking down this tread block and forecasting to the members, just let them know it's a 2.5-minute push followed by a 90-second base. In the final 15, we're going to add some speed. You don't need to tell them it's a 2-minute 15 push and a 15 surge. That's just way too much information. 2.5-minute push, 90 base. Power walkers start at 4% or greater. Joggers and runners, 1 to 2 of your base speed. Can we find that orange? Will you get uncomfortable? 3, 2, 1, push. Halfway through, are they uncomfortable? And then as we approach the final 15, it's like treads, trying to pass someone on the left. Can you add 0.1 or more? Let's surge, add it. And then 3, 2, 1, treads back to base. The goal is to maintain the push and then either maintain or increase the surge every round. And then they could adjust their base to make sure heart rate trends down towards the green. Now for the joggers and runners, of course, they're going to add 0.1 plus. Power walkers, could they add 0.5% or more to their incline? For the bikes and striders, to kind of simulate the same idea, it's going to be a slight increase of RPM during the surge, but try to keep it under 100 RPM. So if they're already at about 100 plus or close to 100 RPMs, maybe try to increase their push gear, which might force them to drop the RPM slightly. And then for the surge, add 3 to 5 RPMs for those 15 seconds, and then come back to their base gear, all right, and their base RPM. This is one where, of course, as the surges increase, that is going to have a cardiac drift effect for that heart rate response, because of course it's only 15 seconds, so it won't be an immediate increase on that heart rate, but once they take it to base, then that fatigue will kind of catch up to them. Then their heart rate will start to climb a little bit before it comes back down to base and back down to trending towards the green, hopefully, during that last like 45 seconds of their base effort. Have them really check in with themselves. I would have them encouraged to at least try to maintain their base for the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. But by rounds 4 and 5, you might see people dropping back, especially if they're adding every time on that surge. Because if you think about it, if they start with 0.1 on round 1 and they keep going up, they're probably going to be adding 0.5 by round 5. And if they are already aggressive on that 2.5-minute push, they might be tapping up into closer to like an all-out speed for them. So they might need to pull back on that base to recover. Now, the final round is going to be 2 minutes and 15 seconds of a push into a 45-second all-out. Okay. Of course, for that all-out, you can keep it simple as a traditional all-out, but also think in mind, with those surges, as I just mentioned, maybe they approach that all-out speed during that 15-second surge. Could they hold on to that for an extra 30 for that 45 all-out? Super fun. Good way to kind of approach it with that. This is going to be a fun template for marathon month because it's a great opportunity for people to really collect a lot of distance. So truly encourage them to not take those walk recoveries, keep moving, and stay at a adjustable base rather than dropping that speed, which will lower their average speed over time. Now, looking at the weight floor, 3 blocks, they're all set up the same way. 2 movements, rest, 3 rounds. whatever time is remaining, they'll go to the rower and do a push row. They'll then have 90 seconds to then set up the next block. Okay. Blocks 1 and 2 are 6.5 minutes, and then the third block is just a little bit longer at 7 minutes. You'll set up the blocks obviously during those different base efforts on the template, so just be aware of that. Block 1, you're going to see alternating incline chest fly paired up with the neutral grip push press. So with the shoulders packed, arms are extended, they'll do one side for 1, other side for 2, 8 total reps, and then anywhere from 4 to 8 reps of that neutral grip push press, and then rest. One round of that 2 movement combo will probably take people about a minute to 90 seconds. So if they are taking recovery, which hopefully they are, getting through about 3 rounds probably put people around 4, maybe 5 minutes total time, which gives them about 1 to 2-ish minutes to row on the rower at a push row. Of course, if people go heavier on the weight floor to work on strength, and they're explosive with the power movement, and they take long recoveries because of that, they might not actually row at all today. And that is okay. Because once again, in the daily beat, in the key concepts, it says, if you make it through the 3 rounds. So if anything, treat the row as a bonus, because that's what it is. It's a bonus. It's not the goal. Block 2, we're going to see incline hammer curl to stand, which that is going to be very spicy because that is going to be a big stretch on that hammer curl into that standing position. If being back on that bench is too tough, have people be seated upright for that curl, stand up, and then back down. Okay, and then that's going to be paired up with the high pull with power. So obviously a little bit of bicep work, but also upper back, back of the shoulders, and that hinge mechanic thrown in. Same thing, they finish 3 rounds. If there's time left, they'll do a push row. And then the final block, we're going to see rear foot elevated goblet split squats, 8 on one leg, 8 on the other, and then alternating single arm snatch, 4 to 8 reps. Of course, with that snatch being one of the more complicated movements for people to grasp, you could do a single arm squat to upright row, take out that overhead portion of it, and have at it. Now, there is more time in this block because their finisher is on the rower and they're doing a 45 all-out row. So if they don't make it to the rowers in blocks 1 and 2, third block, they're doing the rower no matter what. So definitely knowing that you have that final 45 for them to get to that rower and do that, I would say at about 5.5 minutes into that third block, wait for, shut it down, head to the rowers and get ready, because at 6:15, they're doing an all-out row. So probably, in terms of time domains, that's going to be around the 21:30 mark if you have a run-in stopwatch, because at 22:15 is when they're going to hit the all-out on the treads. So at 21:30, wait for, stop what you're doing, we'll clean up later, head to the rowers, get strapped in, get ready for an all-out row. 45 seconds is an awkward time for that all-out. So if anything, start with like a push all-out into an all-out so they start strong and they can finish strong. Because the worst thing we could see happen is someone starts super aggressive and then the last 15 seconds, their watts just tank because they got nothing left. We want to be consistently very uncomfortable the entire time. Looking at the 3G, this template is going to be read top down, left to right, treads, rowers, weight floor, 14.5 minute block. On the tread side, we're going to see a total of 3 rounds of the same setup as the 2G. So 2.5 minute push, 90 base. Of course, the final 15 of that push is a 15-second surge. And then their 4th round, which is that bonus round, it's a 15-second all out instead of a surge. So very short, very intense effort. And then they are done. You have 3 minutes to rotate the room. The rowers are going to be timed up with the treadmills. And what we're going to see here is at the very start, they're going to clear out their screen and then just leave it there. And they're going to start with a 2-minute and 15-second push row. After that, they'll hit a 15-second stroke rate surge. With them being at a push, they're probably going to be around 24 to 28 strokes per minute, because that would be something sustainable. And then for that stroke rate surge, personally, see if they could add, through 2 to 6 strokes per minute or so, just to keep it somewhat under control. So I would personally not see anything over 32 strokes per minute, just because as people fatigue, it's more likely for them to get hurt. So just be aware of that. They actually say, for example, like if they're at 26, finish strong at a 30 stroke per minute row. And then you should end that surge between a push and an all out feeling. When the treads take it to base, they're going to hop off the rower. They're going to do a squat to alternate in halo for a total of 10 reps, and then get back on the rower at a recovery row pace to collect more distance until the next round. And then when the treads hit their next push, rowers, they're back to their push row as well, and then they'll hit that stroke. Everything's the same. The goal is just to collect as much distance as possible, knowing that there's going to be, let's say, 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10 minutes of actual push rowing involved, and probably about 2 minutes of recovery rowing. We're going to see pretty high distances, relatively speaking, for a on-off situation like this. So I would not be surprised to see a majority of people get 2,000 plus meters during this row block. On the weight floor, it is all 3 of the back-to-backs from the 2G done as one long sequence. So chest fly, push press, rest. Curl to stand, high pull with power, rest. Split squat, single arm snatch, rest, and then do it all again. Finisher is going to be a high plank alternating knee drive, since obviously they can't go to the rower and row like in the 2G. Other than that, that's it. Once again, Monday, August 4th, repeats Wednesday the 20th. Any feedback, let me know. Other than that, coach it down.